All right, welcome to the Gaming Lounge Podcast, episode 20. Once again, I'm your host, Sebastian, and I'm joined by Dory. How's everything going, Dory?
Good. We missed a week because this slacker was busy teaching the youth of America. God, how could you, Seb? But I'm excited to be back this week, talking about some news, talking about the games we've been playing, and also celebrating a new movie that just came out that relates to video games that was definitely really good.
Yeah, so school just started. I just finished the first week of school. The week before we skipped, I had to do pre-week, and I had to do a lot of preparation and all that. I just did not have time to play any games, look at any news. I was just so busy. This week too, I was very busy. I'm getting adjusted back to working full time, because obviously I'm off all summer. And when I get home, I'm very exhausted because I'm a very hands-on, walk around the room teacher, and I move around a lot. So I'm physically exhausted dealing with a bunch of 12-year-olds all day. I should be good next week. I always get adjusted by the second week. I am getting a random day off on a Tuesday. Apparently, there's a holiday this Tuesday. I don't know what holiday. We can't figure it out. So I'll be able to get to relax and play a game then. But yeah, so I should be all good to go now. But I just needed a week off to get everything set up. No, I'm all good now. So today we have a lot of news to talk about. Now, nothing major. We're kind of like pre-Gamescom and all that, but plenty of topics to talk about. And we're going to talk about, as Dory mentioned, Borderlands being a disaster, and we're going to talk about video game movies. So our main topic today is celebrating video game movies, the good and the bad. A lot of bad. A lot
of bad.
Yeah. So
some ugly too.
Yeah, very ugly. I mean, very, very ugly. Probably worst of all time movies we're talking here.
Yeah.
All right. So our first news topic of the day is the Dead Rising Remaster, which is coming out, I believe, next month in September. Don't quote me on that, though. Apparently, outlets got their hands on it to give us some impressions. Dory and I have talked about this before. I think we're both into it. I'm not sure if I'm getting a day one, but I'm definitely into it.
September 19th, to be exact.
September 19th. I knew it was September. So I want to read off Polygon's article on this, their impressions. One of the biggest changes in Dead Rising Deluxe Remaster is its complete visual overhaul of the game. It's running on Capcom's RE engine. The remaster runs at a 4K resolution and up to 60 frames per second. I'm not sure if they're playing on PC or not, so I'm assuming maybe this is console, which would be awesome. The new Dead Rising doesn't attempt to match this near photorealism of Resident Evil 2 Remake, but everything looks much more detailed than the original. From the characters' facial animations to the gorgeously designed Willamette Mall. So I beat their first game this year, as I mentioned before, and character faces did not look great. I think the environments look good still. I think it looked really nice on my PC, but the character models definitely look dated. And the game came out in 2006, so that's exciting because the RE engine's awesome. It's one of the best engines there is. So, but that's not the only changes. Due to the various upgrades, the characters you meet interact with in Dead Rising Deluxe Remaster feel much more alive than their counterparts from the 2006 game. Characters like Otis, the janitor, are now fully voiced, and non-player characters that need saving throughout the mall more realistically follow Frank and overcome obstacles during rescue attempts. In my first few hours of playtime, I felt a lot less frustrated by trying to guide survivors through the flesh-eating zombie hordes. Thank God, the AI in the original game is horrendous. They do not... They get swarmed by the zombies. You basically have to fight through every zombie imaginable because the AI is so bad. They get stuck and they just keep getting slapped by the zombies or bitten, and they die really easily. And the game's checkpoint system is very unforgiving, so you basically get screwed. I'm so glad to hear this. This is a game changer because I think a lot of people will find the original game unplayable nowadays because of the AI so bad. So this is a really welcome change. Another welcome change is that you can move while you're shooting, as we talked about before. That was done in the second game and future games. So that's a game changer as well. It's really frustrating aiming in the original game, because you basically have to. It's like Resident Evil 4.
Yeah, I was just about to say they did the same exact thing with the RE4 make.
And it's a game changer, even though I love Resident Evil 4, because it's really frustrating because even in Resident Evil 4, you're not getting swarmed by 100 zombies surrounding you. So that was rough. All right, so it says, what has made playing Dead Rising technically easier are actual gameplay changes, including the ability to move while shooting, as I mentioned, and the ability to use in-game objects as shields. Capcom has also addressed annoyances with the original game's transceiver, which Frank would use to communicate with Otis, but would also interrupt gameplay. That was a big problem too. While you're getting called and you're trying to fight a zombie, like you would always have to get interrupted in the middle of the phone call, and then the character would get mad at you for interrupting the phone call. But I'm like, I'm getting attacked by 100 zombies. How am I supposed to call you and fight at the same time?
It's like if in Fallout you got attacked and like the person in the conversation was like, "Dude, what the fuck?" I'm like, "Bro, like, goddamn death claws are at my heels. Like, I gotta do something."
Exactly. And Frank can now freely move and fight off zombies while receiving the call from Otis. It seems like a small change, but it's a game changer in this game as well. Now they did change some I guess outdated aspects from like 2006. They got rid of their erotica scoring system. Because in the original game you would take pictures of women, like the female characters, and it would give you points for quote erotica. So it's a little perverted, little Japanese perversion, different era. The company has also renamed the Frank the Pimp achievement because you would get an achievement for escorting, I think it was like 20 women or 10 women or something like that at the same time to the safe zone, and you would get an achievement for that. So they got rid of that achievement because
10 was the normal pimp achievement, 20 was the super pimp achievement. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, so that was that. So they got rid of that, and let's see. And the psychopath, it says the psychopath, yes, the human boss characters are still called that. Larry Chiang has also gotten a makeover that makes him no longer an offensive stereotype. Oh, yeah, he was a very offensive stereotype. I did think that when I played the game. I was like, yeah, I can see that.
Like the wide eyes, buck teeth kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah, he was very Asian, I think. If it's the right guy I'm thinking of. But I think it
Which is wild because they're a Japanese company, right? Capcom? So that's kind of...
Yeah,
bonkers, right?
but Japan and China have a kind of a history too, though. So.
Oh, right. Yeah, I thought it. I presume. Okay, yeah, that's my bad. That makes sense.
Yeah, so obviously 2024 they're gonna make some changes like that. The game came out a long time ago. Nothing game.
Almost 20 years now.
I mean, if you're upset about that, I don't know. These are like small things to be upset about. But overall, I think these are positive changes. I think this game. I'm sure this game's still gonna feel a bit dated in some parts, and it's not gonna be a great game overall because it's just going to feel like a remaster of a old game, but these are welcome changes and it's going to make it totally different, and I look forward to playing this. I'm not sure I'm getting this day one just because there's so many games coming out this year.
Yeah, September and October are going to be loaded as always.
Yeah, I can wait for a sale. So Capcom games always go on sale pretty quick anyway. So
yeah, I'll say a couple things about this. I've been watching some game impressions and stuff like that. I really liked what I heard from the game impressions. It made me more interested and more invested in getting it. Now, again, it's just like Seb. I'm not sure I'll get it day one, but I will definitely get it. Almost certainly get it pretty soon after, unless like I'm disappointed with the reviews. But the impressions were pretty positive. I'm trying to find exactly where the impressions were. Sphere Hunter did one. ACG. Was the one I watched, and I liked a lot of what he had to say about it. Mostly positive. The RE engine definitely helps a lot on the inside of the mall. Still looks a little dated when you get outside, and there's more the RE engine has to do with this kind of outdated game. But generally speaking, looks a lot better. Obviously, I heard one thing that the fans were upset about too was that they changed some of the backstory for one of the bosses. I guess originally he was a Vietnam vet, and now they've just made him a generic like war veteran of kind of a conspiracy theory based war. So I don't really get the reasoning for that. I think that made him, from what I read anyway, and I haven't played the game in many years, so I'm not claiming some kind of authority on the subject, but just from what I read and from what other people have said, so it does seem like a weird change there. It does make him seem a lot more human, that he is suffering from PTSD, has gone a little crazy. Honestly, there are a lot of soldiers who deal with PTSD and unfortunately do turn to violence. It is a thing that happens. It's very unfortunate, of course. So it does pull at a topic that honestly isn't talked about much in video games. So I'm a little disappointed that they retconned it and kind of just made him like a conspiracy theorist, where he's like fighting this war against the government or something, I guess. So I thought that was disappointing. But generally speaking, the game looks good. It looks like it plays well. I don't know how the time system is going to work. It looks like also, I know that was a complaint for some people going back to it. One last thing I'll also mention is that they improved how the camera operates. And so when you are, doing the camera mini games and stuff like that, I feel like it slows down time and gives you like more time to like take pictures and stuff like that. I can't remember the exact changes, but they made some changes to the photography and how it works so that it's a little easier and it's a little less stilted in terms of gameplay. So yeah, just another little tweak. I like all the tweaks I'm hearing, most of them anyway, obviously, besides the one I just mentioned. And even that's a minor thing, it's not a huge deal. They changed Frank's voice actor. I don't have any I don't have any dog in this fight. I'm sorry, Kylo. That was offensive to Kylo. But seriously, like, I don't really care personally. He's already had 2 different voice actors, so like I'm kind of whatever about it. But I know some people are upset that they didn't use the original voice actor, or at least the second person. So now Frank, for some reason, has had 3 different voice actors, but he's not like a really iconic character. It's not like recasting, although I guess they did recast Leon, but it's not like,
and Claire.
It's not like it's not like recasting, like, I don't know, a huge character. I was about to say Sonic, and then I realized he's had a lot of different voice actors too. But anyway, so yeah, I'm pretty excited about this. I love a good zombie game, and especially September, nice time for it. October's loaded, so I don't blame them for doing like late September instead of October. I think this will be a good game. Like Seb said, probably not a great game because it'll be weighed down by some outdated side quests or maybe some still some kind of stilted gameplay. I mean, you can only do so much without doing a full-on remake, right? But I think this is great for a lot of people. And I mean, we talk about it all the time pretty much these days, but if for nothing else, it's good for digital preservation. It's nice to have this as a more accessible copy. I believe you can, obviously Seb played the first game this year, so you can still access it. But it's nice to have in a more accessible way. I also think the title's a little funny, Dead Rising Deluxe Remaster, but I think that's the intention. So yeah, that's most of my thoughts on it. I remember playing this, like I said, when it first came out on the 360, I want to say. And I had a lot of fun with it. So I'm hoping to have a lot of fun again, almost 20 years later. Good Lord.
Awesome. So let's move on to our next topic, which is Concord's post-launch roadmap. So Concord is coming out on August 23rd, which is next week. It's going to launch with 16 playable free gunners and unlockable variants, 12 maps, and 6 modes. It is priced at $40, which I think is a good price for it. As previously reported, Concord won't have a battle pass, but it has in-game store, which will be introduced in October as part of the game's first major content drop, Season 1, The Tempest. Quote from videogameschronicles.com. With Season 1... Okay, this is this is from the PlayStation blog post. With Season 1, we'll also be introducing as an in-game store for those looking to personalize their free gunners further with additional customization items and to continue to support the game, Firewalk Studios game director Ryan Ellis said in a PlayStation blog post. Quote, there will be supplemental the hundreds of rewards earnable through progression and will be solely cosmetic, optional, and have no gameplay impact. Season 1 will include a new free gunner, a fresh map, an additional free gunner variants, earnable cosmetics and rewards, plus a new batch of weekly cinematic vignettes that advance the story. So I'm not really I'm not sure how I feel about Concord. I didn't play the beta or anything like that. What I've heard good things. I've heard people have really enjoyed the gameplay. I'll wait for reviews. If the reviews are in like the 80s and everybody's digging it, then maybe I'll pick it up day one-ish. Because I always enjoy these kind of games for a while anyway. But I'm not sure. How do you feel about Concord, Dory?
Yeah, I mean, I'm near Concord myself. Actually, I'm near 2 different Concords. There's one Mass and one in New Hampshire. But I don't know. I'm never into these kind of games, really. I think the most I ever really played multiplayer was when I was younger. I would play, Halo or Call of Duty, Modern Warfare. And I mean, I guess a few years ago when the pandemic was going on, I was playing Fall Guys and Knockout, and like maybe Ghost of Tsushima, a couple other games, just because, I mean, any social interaction was good back then, even if you were an introvert. So yeah, I don't know. This is just a thing that I don't really see myself involving myself in, investing my time in. I did have a friend who was playing the open beta, tell me that it was pretty good, and that she was pleasantly surprised and really enjoyed herself. Yeah, I don't know. It's getting good reviews, surprisingly. I think that there's a lot of potential here. I really liked the animation. I really liked the video. I liked the characters. But then when it turned into a video game, I was kind of like low-key disappointed. I was like, I kind of want this as a show more than I want this as a game. Plus, there's enough of these kind of games in the marketplace anyway at this point. I just feel like we've hit saturation. Kind of feel that way about Souls-like as well. But and other genres, right? But yeah, I hope obviously I hope nothing but the best for the team, and hopefully this is successful. I don't know how it's going to do. I wasn't super blown away by the trailers, except again in so much as I thought it looked like a cool show to watch, which is not what they're going for really. They'll have like little mini stories every now and then throughout season 1, but I don't know if it'll be really anything to sink your teeth into in terms of narrative, which obviously isn't the point of these games, right? So yeah, I don't know, just not really for me, but obviously hoping the best for them. And if it's cool, I'm sure Seb will tell me how it is.
Yeah, I would have preferred this game with a single player story. I was into the trailer with the cinematic with the characters. I'm not crazy about the character designs like in the game though. I'm not. A lot of those characters, I just don't like the character designs. They're not really appealing. And I need some lore to make the characters likable. I think one of the cool things about Overwatch is all the storylines around the characters. And as Dory's right about the oversaturation of the market, especially with the hero shooters.
I mean, Marvel Rivals I think it's called Rivals. Marvel Rivals is coming out soon too. I mean, it's just, you have Overwatch, you have Rivals, you have Halo, you have, just Destiny. I mean, I know Destiny kind of just wrapped up, but still, you've got so much going on these days. It's hard to look at this title and be like, what does it bring to the table? And all it really seems to do is stuff that other titles are already doing or have been doing for a long time. So yeah, it just doesn't move me in any serious way.
It's not even just hero shooters, like just shooters in period. Call of Duty, Apex.
Right, Apex. Yeah, of course.
You got Warzone, you got Fortnite, you got all of them. So it's just too many. But we'll see. So PlayStation really needs a good multiplayer. They severely lack multiplayer. Although I would get this on PC anyway, but still, I think
the only thing they got going for them is Helldivers 2, right? And I don't know.
Yeah, multiplayer wise, yeah.
Right. I don't know how much, though. On the other side, I don't know how popular that is as opposed to how it used to be. I know there have been some patches and changes that some players haven't been happy with, but then they've listened to the fan base and improved. So I don't know. I've heard back and forth stuff about it. But Helldivers 2 has definitely been a success for them. I don't really know that Concord's going to be anywhere near that level.
I don't see that being on Helldiver's level. Helldiver was really popular. I think it's still popular, but it dropped off a bit because games never stayed that popular. But I think it's still going pretty well, even though with the Steam controversy, that definitely hurt it with the having to log in the PlayStation and all that.
I am glad though that they reversed that. I think in less than a week, which was good.
Yeah, but they should have known better to even go in that direction.
For sure, of course.
That was such common sense. But Sony gonna Sony. But
Sony gonna Sony.
I would get this on PC, and so I'll check out the reviews and we'll go from there. But I'm not super optimistic about this game. I kind of have a bad feeling it's gonna fail. Because even if it's a good game, I think there's a very strong negative reaction to this game. Like overall, like people still think this game really sucks. There is a narrative against this game right now, so it would have to really impress to really capture an audience. All right, so let's move on to our next topic, which is the Tango Gameworks being owned by Krafton now. The Krafton being the PUBG publisher. This was definitely out of nowhere, as we've talked about in the past about not understanding why Microsoft closed down Tango Dreamworks. The people that have made Hi-Fi Rush and Evil Within and Tokyo, was it the
Tokyo.
Ghostwire Tokyo?
Ghostwire Tokyo, yeah.
So I was really happy to hear this news. So before we get into it, let me read off from Eurogamer.com. So PUBG publisher Krafton has acquired developer Tango Gameworks and the rights to Hi-Fi Rush. So they own the IP of Hi-Fi Rush too. So it's not just the developer.
Yes.
Marking the company's first, quote, significant investment in the Japanese video game market. Tango Gameworks. I think I said DreamWorks. It's Gameworks. Is it Gameworks? And it's Gameworks. It's Gameworks.
Yeah, it's Gameworks.
I bet.
DreamWorks made Shrek.
Yeah, DreamWorks is the film company. Tango Gameworks, which also known for the likes of Evil Within series, was founded by Shinji Mikami in 2010, and then he left.
Hey, Mikami.
The guy that made Resident Evil, of course.
Resident Evil.
In 2012, Bethesda parent company ZeniMax Media purchased Tango before it was then acquired by Microsoft years later. So when they purchased Bethesda, ZeniMax, they bought Tango Gameworks. Under Microsoft, Tango surprise launched Hi-Fi Rush in 2023. It was a shadow drop to wide acclaim, with the rhythm action release becoming a highlight in the Xbox Series X and S catalog. And then they said, our Ed called the Xbox console exclusive both, quote, vibrant and self-assured in Eurogamer's own Hi-Fi Rush review. Dory and I both had it in our top 10. It's one of the best games. I said it was the best game on Xbox when it came out. I thought it was the best Xbox, even better than Starfield. I thought it was the best.
Yes, definitely better than Starfield.
Yeah. So continue on. When Microsoft subsequently announced in May it was closing several Bethesda studios, including Dishonored developer Arcane Austin and Mighty Doom studio Alpha Dog Games, along with Tango Gameworks, shockwaves were felt throughout the industry. Many were quick to condemn the move by Microsoft, with Arcane Lynn boss Dinga Bakaba calling it a, quote, fucking gut stab, which we would both agree with that. However, Tango Gameworks will now live on thanks to today's news that Krafton has acquired both the studios and Hi-Fi Rush brand. Tango Gameworks acquisition will transfer around 50 out of the original 100 staff image. Tango Gameworks acquisition will transfer around 50 out of original 100 staff. Quote, as part of this strategic agreement, Krafton intends to collaborate with Xbox and ZeniMax to ensure a smooth transition and maintain a continuity at Tango Gameworks, allowing the talented team to continue developing the Hi-Fi Rush IP and explore future projects. So that they, to me, it sounds like they all but confirmed a sequel to Hi-Fi Rush.
Yes, which I mean, the ending of it basically, it is pretty open ended. So yeah,
absolutely. Press release on today's acquisition reads: Krafton said it will support the team at Tango Gameworks to, quote, continue its commitment to innovation and delivering fresh and exciting experiences for fans. The publisher noted that there will be, quote, no impact on the existing catalog of the Evil Within 2, Ghostwire Tokyo, and the original Hi-Fi Rush game as part of this acquisition. Quote, this integration reinforces Krafton's dedication to expanding its global footprint and enhancing the portfolio with innovative and high-quality content. The release continues. Krafton said that the addition of Tango Gameworks is part of the company's, quote, mission to push the boundaries of interacting and entertainment. Celebrating the news on social media platform X, Tango Gameworks creative director John Johannes wrote, "We're back, baby." So, Dory, how do you feel about this news?
This is the fucking best news we've ever probably talked about on this show. I wish we could clip that and make that an advertisement for this episode. This is the best fucking news that we've ever talked about. It's so uplifting. It's actually good news. It's positive things. And the fact that this happened at all, I feel like Xbox could have stopped it, but they didn't. Probably because they know they fucked up. Maybe. Anyway, I don't know. I don't want to give them too much credit. But this is so good. I mean, I loved Hi-Fi Rush. I'm not a huge Ghostwire Tokyo fan, but I did love a lot of the ideas. I love the spooky press conference. That was phenomenal and iconic, of course. And I thought there was a lot of cool ideas in Ghostwire Tokyo that I wanted to see developed later into a sequel or a separate IP or something else. I thought there was a lot of cool ideas there, even if it didn't really click for me overall. And I haven't played the Evil Within. I can't comment on that. It is on my Game Pass. I will play it someday. But I'm just so excited. I forgot actually that Arcane Austin also got shut down. So like you reading that maybe like fucking kind of gut like soft gut punch me again. Even though I'm not really into like Dishonored, I wasn't like a huge fan of it personally. When I first played it, I could give it another shot. Maybe I'd like it more. But back when I first played it on the PS3 or PS4, whatever it was after it had already been out for a few years. I didn't really click with it. But yeah, I mean, it sucks that this happened for them too, and I hope something will be able to happen because Dishonored is such a huge franchise. But it's so awesome for Tango that this happened. This was just such a. I mean, think about this. Like, Hi-Fi was nominated for awards. I'm pretty sure it won an award or two at the Game Awards. It got widespread acclaim. It got so much social media buzz. It was shadow dropped. It's one of the best shadow drops probably ever in all of gaming ever. It's an excellent game. I rank fighting the first boss with 9 Inch Nails 1 million as like one of my favorite gaming moments of all time, like ever, like period. That is such a hype moment. The music that they got for that game is so good. It's such a cool, creative vision. It's not. I do think it's funny that they're like, this is part of our initiative to support furthering the boundaries of creative entertainment. This is a PS2 game, y'all. Like this, Hi-Fi Rush is a PS2 game that looks really nice. That's not a bad thing. I love the PS2. I love a lot of PS2 games. That's not an insult. I do think it's very funny that they're like, oh, we're pushing the boundaries of like this is a hack and slash platforming game from 2007 or something, right? But that doesn't matter. I just think it's funny. But it's just so exciting. Honestly, I hope everybody at Xbox who did this is now realized how bad of a decision that was and is now looking at this. I hope some investors really like upset. Like, I hope this has ruined their day. Honestly, just one day. Like, I'm not evil, so like just one day. But like, hope that like really rained on the parade. Just what a monumentally stupid decision it was to close the studio. I'm so glad that Xbox allowed it to be invested in. I'm guessing they had to have some part in it. I am hoping for petty reasons that Tango doesn't make their game. This won't happen, of course. But I think it'd be very funny if the future games that they developed would not be available on Xbox. I think that would be funny. Of course, they won't do that. But I think it'd be funny, at least for one game. Do it for one game. Make it Hi-Fi Rush 2. Yeah, this is awesome news. I'm just really happy and excited for the team. It sucks that they can't bring everybody back, but it's better than not having it at all. So I guess at this point, it's kind of like half the team is lost, and they can build that team back up, I presume. Hopefully rehire some of those people. I'm sure a lot of the people in Tango were very talented, obviously. They made Hi-Fi Rush. Hi-Fi Rush such a great game. And so I'm sure they've already landed on their feet or will soon. So yeah, anyway, that's my little rant about it. I'm just so happy about this, if that wasn't clear by me saying it like 3 times already. This is so great. I really am excited for Hi-Fi Rush 2, which is not a sentence I thought even a week or two ago I would ever be saying. So yeah, this is awesome. I don't know if Seb has it. I feel like I'm in a wrestling show. This is awesome. But yeah, I don't know if Seb wants to add anything.
My assumption is that Hi-Fi Rush didn't sell very well. Like, that's like my instant. Like, that's, I have no source on that, but I just feel like it didn't do as well on PS5 as they hoped and things like that. But with that said, I think because Microsoft has so much money and they need good quality IPs, it was just a huge mistake to let it go like that. Like, that's
right.
No, because not only does Microsoft lack like quality IPs at like. Well, I mean, they're doing well. They're getting better now, obviously, with Activision, owning Activision. But they lack support in Japan, and this was like one of their premier Japanese studios. So the whole thing didn't make sense to me. I think you could take a hit on some sales to have like a quality studio developing for you. I mean, I don't know how much sales you expect to have when Game Pass is your main selling point anyway. So the whole thing's confusing to me. So I'm glad everybody's landing on their feet, and or not everybody, but at least half. And I'm glad that they continuing the IP, because I think Hi-Fi Rush was awesome, and I think it deserves to be a franchise. And I'm excited, and I'm sure it's gonna be multi-plat, so everybody's gonna be able to play it. And I've been playing it recently on my Steam Deck, and it runs really great on Steam Deck. So I'm excited about this news for sure. All right, let's move on to Red Dead Redemption coming to PC potentially after 14 years. So apparently, Red Dead Redemption's PC version got leaked, but by a random source, PlayStation of all places. Quote, experience the epic Western adventures that defined a generation. Now on PC for the first time ever. So this is from PlayStation. Quote, featuring the complete single-player experiences of both games, including both content from Game of the Year Edition. Red Dead Redemption features all of the 2023 console version upgrades, plus PC-specific enhancements, including support for increased resolution and frame rates, multiple displays, and other accessories, plus spatial surround sound. That's cool. The listing also previously said that it includes the content from the Game of the Year Edition, which includes the single-player expansion Undead Nightmare, as well as all of the, quote, all of the 2023 console version upgrades plus PC-specific enhancements, including support for increased resolutions and frame rates, multiple displays. It's just saying the same thing. Red Dead Redemption was also released for PS3 and Xbox 360 in 2010, but it never made it to PC like the sequel did in 2019. So Red Dead Redemption 1 has never been on PC. However, the game was released on PS4 and Switch last year, which made no sense to me. I don't know why they made a PS4 only version and not a PS5 version, but whatever. Earlier this year, a lot of people were like $40 for a PS4 version. This is a ripoff. Earlier this year, a data mining report suggested that Rockstar was gearing up for a PC release for Red Dead Redemption, and an Epic Games Store leak revealed potential release dates for it. Now, I don't know if this means it's coming to... It doesn't clarify if it's coming to Steam or Epic. I hope it's not an Epic exclusive. I'd be pissed. But this is cool news. Of course, the first game is awesome. Second game is a masterpiece in terms of everything but the gameplay, in my opinion. If not for God of War, obviously it would have been my game of the year that year. But the first game, I love the gameplay more because it's a little more cartoony, a little more like the action is a little more like arcadey than the second game being more like realistic, more of a simulator. And I love the story. The first game has one of the greatest stories of all time. The second game has one of the best stories of all time as well. I love John Marston. I love the whole story. I really like the DLC course too. The Undead Nightmare is awesome. The whole zombie storyline is cool. The Bigfoot and all that. It's a great game. It's must play for if you never played Red Dead Redemption. It's a must play for everybody. Rockstar is one of the best developers, if not the best developer in the world, for a reason. And Red Dead Redemption is a perfect example of why. Dory, have you ever played Red Dead Redemption 1?
Wow, the answer here is going to stun you, but no, I have not. Yeah, I didn't grow up playing a lot of Rockstar. I played a little bit of GTA here and there. I really loved San Andreas when I was younger. I loved Vice City. And I think that's all I played. I don't think I ever played 4. I definitely never played 5. And so, yeah, I never got into Red Dead. Growing up, even I was never really into cowboys as like a general thing. I mean, I thought bandits and bank robbers were cool, but that's another thing. But like, I never really got into the whole cowboy stuff. I was always more into Buzz Lightyear than Woody. I don't know. That was just kind of my vibe. But yeah, and also I think when the first one came out, when was that? 2014?
2010.
2010? Yeah, I was pretty much wrapped up with video games at that point. I mentioned before on this podcast and others, but I have like a gap in my resume, my gamer resume, from like 2010 to I want to say about 2017. So basically, like the PS3 and most of the PS4. Yeah, I never played it. I don't really have any desire to either. It just doesn't really appeal to me. I never wanted to play Red Dead 2. I didn't like how overly realistic it was trying to be. One of my things about gaming that even when I was growing up, I always preferred Halo over Call of Duty because Halo was never trying to be realistic. Call of Duty sometimes tried to be realistic in some ways, and I often found that more frustrating than I found it's satisfying for me. And yeah, Rockstar's kind of obsession with making that sequel realistic was more frustrating and not unenticing than interesting to me. But that's just a personal preference, and I understand why it got its accolades. It looks, really good in terms of graphics and very impressive in terms of, the story and the voice acting and writing and so forth. Most of which Rockstar is known for being good at. So, Yeah, this doesn't really matter to me. I don't really have any interest in that franchise, but it's not necessarily because it's bad. Just not really to my taste. But yeah, no doubt that John Marston is like a iconic character, and that story is very iconic as well. So yeah, I mean, I hope everybody enjoys it when it does come to PC. Seems like we're seeing more and more that such and such is coming to PC. And as a predominant PC gamer these days, I love to see it.
Absolutely. Now, the next game we're going to talk about is something that appeals more to Dory, which would be Dragon Age: The Veilguard. Finally getting a release date, which shockingly is going to be on Halloween, October 31st.
Yeah, very strange.
So why people are going out to Halloween parties and trick-or-treating and all that. We're going to be playing Dragon Age at home. So I'm reading off theverge.com. BioWare is announcing the release date for Dragon Age: The Veilguard and sharing a new trailer to commemorate the occasion. Players will be able to return to Thetis. The name of the game's world that is simultaneously a clever acronym for the Dragon Age setting. On October 31st, more than 10 years after the release of the previous game, which is Inquisition, which won Game of the Year, I believe. BioWare announced Veilguard back in 2018, but shared a very few substantive updates until 2022. In the intervening time, some senior talent left the studio, including general manager Casey Hudson, executive producer Mark Dara, production director Mac Walters, and senior creative producer Matt Goldman. Several employees, including several BioWare veterans, were also lost to layoffs. Development on Veilguard was also impacted by changing trends in the video game industry. After the critical and commercial failure of Anthem, BioWare's MMO-style action RPG with flying exosuits, BioWare's parent company EA canceled the planned multiplayer elements for Veilguard in hope of capturing the kind of success enjoyed by other EA-produced single-player games like Jedi Fallen Order. Veilguard will be available for pre-order for $60 on PC and $70 on Xbox and PlayStation, so it's $10 cheaper on PC. Though the long development cycle, layoffs, and departures have fans concerned about the potential quality of the game. Veilguard arrives when single-player narrative games are experiencing huge success, most notably 2023's Game of the Year, Baldur's Gate 3. Comparisons between the two are inevitable, but based on this trailer, we are so very back. Now, I think this article is a little more optimistic than I am. I mean, I think this game looks good, but I'm not ready to compare it to Baldur's Gate 3, which is like one of my greatest games.
I'm not either.
But
I'm not either.
And I'm not the biggest Dragon Age fan. I'm like, I like it. I'm not like, oh my god. And I'm not really a big BioWare fan anymore. They're not the same BioWare that made Mass Effect. But
unfortunately,
this game looks good. I think this game might be something I get day one. I feel like what I'm seeing, I like the action, more of the action vibe. I'm liking the setting. I love fantasy settings. That's my genre. So this is very appealing to me. I love the single player focus being like Jedi Fallen Order. I love that EA's committed to making single player awesome AAA games. Because when they make quality games, they really do make quality games. It's only when they start getting into the multiplayer and start microtransaction and bullshitting everybody with nonsense is when they get really bad. When they get obsessed with like nickel and diming us for everything. But they've made some really quality single player games. Like their indies are awesome. And their AAA games have been awesome here and there, like the Jedi Fallen Order games. So Dory, how do you feel? Because you've been on a Dragon Age kick recently, so
yeah. So I beat Dragon Age Origins and I beat all of its DLC. I don't know if we can talk about that after this news thing, but regardless, yeah, I am pretty excited. I checked out the gameplay demo, the 20-minute trailer they released a few months ago that I started watching, and then I was like, well, I've never even played Dragon Age. What do I care? And then, here I am. I'm on Dragon Age 2 now. But I'm pretty excited. I know who Varric is now, so that's a little more exciting to see him in this. I love Dragon Age Origins. I've been praising it for about a month now. But it's one of the best CRPGs of all time, I'd say, or seems to be. I mean, I'm not a CRPG expert, but I played some of the best, and I would say that this is up there. Feels like just a slightly less polished Baldur's Gate 3 to me in a lot of ways. But yeah, there's some red flags here for sure. The fact that you can't control multiple party members is a big red flag for me. Now, BioWare has said that the action is too fast paced and too complicated. I don't really think that you could do much more complicated than Baldur's Gate 3 or some of the others that have pausing or turn based. I mean, that just feels like an excuse to me. I definitely think you could make this combat work. They are doing kind of the Final Fantasy thing where you can select your powers through a wheel, and that slows down time or pauses it. I can't remember. Yeah, I feel like that's just an excuse for them to not have to code that all in and not have. I don't know. I don't know the exact reasoning, but it feels kind of sketchy to me. I'm not saying that they have to do it like Baldur's Gate does it, or they have to do it like Origins does it, although they should. But just in an updated way. Yeah, I don't know. It looks really good. Graphically, it looks great. The writing, it looks there. It is frustrating how BioWare is once again having that kind of speech wheel thing where what you say doesn't always match up with what you're actually saying. In the first game, in Dragon Age Origins, what you're saying is basically down there, unless it's too long. But even if it's cut off, like you'll get the gist of what your character is about to say to another character. But ever since Dragon Age 2, they've changed that to the kind of the dialogue wheel, and it just kind of sums up what you're saying, as well as like the emotion that you're displaying. So the top one's usually pretty like peaceable, the middle one's kind of like tricksterish or sarcastic, and the down one, of course, is always the bad one, the combative one. At least that's how it is in Dragon Age 2. I don't know about Inquisition. So yeah, I don't know about that, but it's just kind of how BioWare's been doing things for a long time. That's how it did it with Mass Effect as well. And I love Mass Effect, so it's not a big complaint, but it is something I noticed somebody talking about in the YouTube comments, and I kind of agree with them. It does get frustrating when a speech bubble says, that sounds great, and your character goes, that sounds really great, because, and then they start going on a total, tangent that you didn't know they were going to talk about, and it goes against something you believe. So yeah, just a minor thing there, but the combat looks cool. The graphics look great. The writing, I'm sure, is going to be, I know they've lost a lot of people, but to layoffs and just to people leaving because of the direction of the company and EA. But I'm sure that the writing will still be there. The BioWare has some of the best writers in the world for video games. I know some of those people aren't there anymore, but there are some people who were originally there that are still there. And of course, they can always hire more people. So yeah, I don't know. Reasonably excited for this. I'm pretty much day one for it. I will be paying attention to reviews very carefully for this one. But I'm probably day one, as long as it's in the, probably 70s, 80s. I'm almost certainly day one. If it gets any lower than that, I'm going to start asking questions.
I think this game has to succeed, or BioWare is in trouble. I think this is their last straw, like their last hurrah. If they fail, I think they could be closed down potentially. BioWare's always
then that would be really sad. I mean, I think BioWare has some of the best games of all time. I mean, they did KOTOR, they did Dragon Age Origins, they did obviously the Mass Effect trilogy.
They were awesome.
So it would be a real shame. I hope this is a fucking grand slam for them, and this is BioWare returning to form. And to quote the article, I hope that we are very back, but I am trepidatious about this, especially after they made Anthem. I just don't understand what EA was thinking there. I'm very glad I wasn't super paying attention to video games then. Yeah, or at least as much.
Anthem was like if it was just a single player game, like I thought the gameplay was kind of fun. Like I like the whole idea of being Iron Man and flying around. Like that was fun. The content was just so terrible. There was nothing to keep you going, really. It was just
I think
missions.
Halloween.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Sorry. I also think Halloween's a weird date. I think they're trying to avoid competing. There we go. Competing with a bunch of other games, but I don't know about putting it on Halloween. Even if I'm day one, I don't think I'm going to be spending my Halloween playing Dragon Age. I mean, maybe if the reviews are like 80s, 90s, then yeah, I might tell Kim, like, sorry, like, where I'm going to go play this.
What
But
day? What day is Halloween on? Is that a Friday?
you know what, Seb? That's an excellent question, and
Let's.
I definitely have the answer right off the top of my head. It's a Thursday.
It's a Thursday. Yeah, I just looked it
Yeah.
up. Yeah. I don't know, cause like I'm busy. I'm out busy on Friday, like on Halloween, doing Halloween stuff, of course,
Right.
and I have school the next day. So
Sure.
yeah,
It's a weird day.
I don't know if I'm gonna play that day. I'll play it the Friday, probably
Yeah.
more than
Yeah.
likely. If it's great, if it's like a sevens, then I can wait. EA games go
Yeah.
on sale really fast.
For
But
sure.
I'm
I mean,
definitely I'll definitely
the
play it at some point. I'm 100% I will play this game at some point.
yeah. I'm pretty sure I will too. I would love BioWare to be fully back. Even going to Seb's point about games being on sale, that Avium game, the one where you shoot spells and stuff
It's
like
not
that.
It's okay. It's not that bad. It's decent. It's not
Yeah.
really that bad.
It's on Game Pass. It's already was what I was gonna say. You can already get it for basically $10. So it's like,
Yeah.
yeah. And I don't know if that'll happen to Veilguard, of course, but that's just goes to show what Seb's saying. I do think this will probably go on sale probably within a few months, especially for a December sale. That makes a lot of sense to me.
It'll be on sale the next month, like literally a couple weeks. Black Friday is like right around the corner.
Right.
In that time, so it will probably be like in the 40s, $40 by then, I would think. All right, so what we've been playing. So Dory has been playing Dragon Age. She beat Origins. So tell us about Origins, like the whole game now. Like now that you've beaten it.
Right. So I know I've been going on and on about Origins, and so I'll try to keep this brief because I don't want to bore our listeners here, who I appreciate listening to my ramblings about Origins. I'll get the bad out of the way first. I think the DLC is pretty weak, generally speaking. I think Awakenings is really strong as a continuation of the. Oh God, I just remembered something funny. The performance issues are also pretty bad. There's a memory loss issue, and even if you get the patch, it still can be hit or miss when you're in the city of Ferelden. I did have multiple crashes and did have to back up my files and stuff to make sure I didn't lose any significant progress. I believe I lost like 45 minutes at one point. I think at one point also in Awakenings, one of the quests wouldn't load, so I lost like an hour. So there's some performance stuff. It's an older game. I don't blame it too much, but yeah, it does suck. The graphics obviously don't hold up, even if you've got the mods. It's still not great. Although I started playing Dragon Age 2, and I think Origins looks better. I don't know why. It's a different style that they're going for in Dragon Age 2, and it doesn't look good. All the faces look kind of bloated, and the eyes look glazed over, and I don't know. It looks weird. I'll talk more about Dragon Age 2 in a second. I want to specifically point out the DLC, the Golems one. It's kind of like a one-shot adventure. It's like 1 hour. That one really sucked. You basically go with this gnome, and you are trying to stop these other, like, get this gnome's brother back, dwarf's brother back from being trapped in the spirit realm. And then, of course, there are all these golems around. There's some puzzles and stuff. I just thought, A, it was a really boring mission that didn't really do much to further the lore. B, it was kind of frustrating, and at that point, I was kind of tired, so I didn't really like the puzzles, and it both felt too easy and too challenging at the same time. My biggest problem, though, is the ending. So the boss is one of the most difficult in the whole series, like the whole game. I forget the boss's name, but for the Golems DLC, it really sucks because basically it can bring dead, fallen enemies back to life. So it can just bring its grunts back to life over and over and over again. I almost turned it back down to easy, which I hadn't done in, I don't even know how many hours. But even after you beat the boss, which was very frustrating, it only took me a few tries, but these battles can get pretty long sometimes when you're doing intricate bosses and you're at a high level. So losing means you lost, a good 5-10 minutes, right? And also sometimes there are cutscenes you can't skip. But anyway, once you beat that boss, right, it took me a few tries, but I did it. On normal. I'm not insane. I'm not doing it on hard or crushing or whatever. All of you escape the ruins just as it's about to explode, action movie thing. And then the game teases that some of those monsters are still alive. And I hate that shit. I don't mind it in horror movies, right? Because obviously they're sequel baiting and they're going to do a sequel. This is a DLC to a video game. game, what the fuck am I supposed to do about the fact that maybe more of these monsters are still around? Like, I'm never going back there. We basically just blew up the whole place, so they're either dead or trapped, so whatever, it doesn't matter. It just really bothered me. It made me feel like everything I did was for nothing, and I just didn't really like the DLC overall. So that's my little rant on that. The funny thing I remembered earlier is I beat the Archdevil or Archdemon or whatever from the Darkspawn, and I'm in the throne room, and I'm talking to Queen Honora. I didn't put the other. I can't remember. Leave him forget. Alistair. I didn't put him in charge because he didn't want to be in charge, and he wasn't a good fit. So he ends up being a drunk bum, which is wild. But anyway, so I was in the throne room, went through the conversation, yada yada, and I come out of the cutscene, and I'm like, okay, cool. I'll get to talk to my party. I'll go outside to my adoring fans. Roll credits. I take one fucking step. The game pops up with an error message, crashes right after I just beat the final boss, and that took me. I did it on my first try. To be fair, brushed my shoulders off. But, like, it still took me, 10, 15 minutes. And I only beat it first try because I knew about the ballistas because I was looking up a guide. Because it was, 11 o'clock or something like that. But, and I was tired. I was like, ain't nobody got time for that. So, I was fucking gut-wrenched. I was like, I do not want to have to fight that again. That was, it wasn't a bad boss fight. It was a great boss fight. But, I was like, I'm done. I'm good. I don't need to go through all that again. Luckily, I had some weird kind of post-game save. And so I didn't lose anything, and I didn't have to do it over again. So I looked up on YouTube. I kind of patchworked it, but basically put together the ending I would have gotten with the choices I made kind of on YouTube. And that was lame. I was like, this is a really lame ending to a really great game. But yeah, that's the performance issues for you. Overall, I think this game's excellent. It's incredible, actually. I think the characters are so well written. The gameplay is phenomenal. I never got tired of it. It gets really challenging towards the end, but I think it's really satisfying too. The voice acting, everything's on it, just another level. I'll quickly talk about Dragon Age 2, and then Seb, if you've got anything, you can bring it up. But Dragon Age 2 feels like one of those games. So yeah, Dragon Age Origins, definitely recommend it. It's excellent. Go play it. Definitely put some mods in it and make sure that you're aware that it could crash. Make sure you're saving. That mostly happens in Ferelden and towards the end of the game. So once you're done with that cutscene, I recommend immediately saving if you can, because I was not so lucky. But Dragon Age 2, Seb, do you know those little mustache glasses things that have the fake nose and the you know what I'm talking about, the little kid's toy. It feels like somebody snuck into BioWare, put that on, and then put those glasses on Dragon Age 2 and said, look, it's Dragon Age. Because, it is Dragon Age, but it's not Dragon Age. It feels so weird. The presentation is all, it feels wrong. I don't know how else to put it. I'm only 2 hours in, right? And I don't hate it. I'm not, saying it's bad. But this is definitely, I've seen this being referred to as the black sheep of the family. But I wanted to see for myself. I love Origins, so I'm willing to give this a shot. Even if it's not incredible or whatever, as long as it's a great game or a pretty good game, I don't mind. I can always quit, right, and play Inquisition. It just feels weird. The presentation of it feels off. It definitely feels like they streamlined a lot of stuff to apply to the masses. And I don't, I'm never gonna argue against making something more accessible to more people, but there are ways to do that without sacrificing kind of the soul of your game. And it does feel like BioWare kind of had to break some eggs to make omelets kind of situation, and I just feel like there's a bit of soul out of this game compared to the first one. Like I said, the graphics too are weird. Characters feel blocky and the eyes look glazed over and the models just don't look as good. I should point out, by the way, that this was made within a 2-year time frame. Completely new game that's 35 hours long, maybe 40 or more if you're doing all the side content. So it's a smaller game than Origins, but it's pretty clear to me that BioWare was rushed to make this sequel, which actually happened to them with KOTOR 2. And then they passed it over to Ravensoft, I believe. Yeah, so I don't know. This definitely feels like they rushed. I still love the writing. I still love the characters so far. I still love the world in this game. But there's definitely a lot less options about your origin character. There's a lot less options about the kind of character you can look like. There's a lot less versatility in your magic and in your attacks. The skill tree is questionable. I don't really know why they decided to change that up. But yeah, I'm only 2 hours in. I still really like it. I still think it's great so far. But I am not a fan of a lot of the changes. In fact, I did some mods to make sure that some stuff was more to my liking than not. So yeah, those are my thoughts on Dragon Age Origins and Dragon Age 2. Seb, I don't know if you've been playing anything this week. I know you've been busy with school.
No, before I talk about what I've been playing, you plan on playing Inquisition before Veilguard? Like by Veilguard?
To try. I don't know if that'll happen. I will definitely be able to beat Dragon Age 2. Like I said, it's a shorter game, but Inquisition makes up for it by being a longer game. So I don't really know if it'll happen. I will at least start Inquisition and get a sense for like what's happening in the world and what's going on. But I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to finish it, especially because Wukong's coming out soon. My birthday's coming up, which means I could basically get free video games. So we'll see, is kind of what my answer is to that. But I will definitely try. It's not till late October. I think I can beat Dragon Age 2 before August is over. And I think I can beat Inquisition before the end of October. But I don't know. Inquisition is supposed to be a longer game. It's more open world. So I don't know. We'll see. You can total up to like 100 hours in it, but I don't plan on that.
Yeah.
Unless absolutely necessary for like side content. I almost never spend that amount of time unless you're Baldur's Gate 3. Or Hades, I guess. So yeah, it would have to be really special to make me do this. Now somebody clip this, and in a few months, let's revisit this statement. But yeah, I'm excited to try Inquisition. I like Dragon Age 2 so far, but I already feel less of a pull to play it. I always wanted to play Origins, always wanted to go back into it, loved that game. Definitely stayed up a little bit too late for a whole week or two playing that game. Whereas Dragon Age 2, I'm like, yeah, I'd like to be playing it, but like I could do this other thing if I really wanted to. So that's kind of where I'm at right now with it. But yeah, Seb, what have you been up to?
So I as you said, I've been busy with school, so I haven't like played a ton of games, but I have played games the last 2 weeks. I have 100%ed all of Fallout New Vegas. I got all the achievements. That took about 90-something hours. So that I've been playing that since January. So I'm proud to I'm proud to finally have done that because I think Fallout New Vegas is the best Fallout game.
Have you heard about Fallout London?
Yes, the mod. It's basically its own game. Yeah.
Yeah.
I kind of got burned out with those kind of games, so I took a break. So I'll try that out at some point, but I don't want to get into another Fallout game after putting 90 hours into New Vegas. So I've been playing some single player games, like smaller ones. I have most of the achievements now in Hades. I put 45 hours into Hades since January. I've been playing that since January as well. I will get all the achievements in Hades by the end of the year. I'm guessing that the time I get all the achievements in Hades, I'll probably have at least 60 hours into it. Hades is obviously, we've talked about Hades so much. Hades is one of the greatest games ever made. Usually not my kind of game. I usually don't like roguelikes, top-down kind of games, but I really love Hades. And I look forward to playing Hades 2. Still have not played Hades 2 yet, but I will get to it.
Oh, it's so good. I put almost 40 hours into it. I stopped for a long time. I'm waiting for their next huge update.
Yeah.
Honestly, I might wait until it's like fully released because I've done just about everything in that game short of beating the main boss. Actually, I never beat him because he's really fucking hard. But yeah, I super recommend it. It's so good.
Oh, I will definitely play it for sure. I just want to get the first game out of the way first with all the achievements. And I've also been in the mood to play like more of a AAA single player kind of game. I've been playing Callisto Protocol again on PC this time. I beat it on PS5 when it came out, and I wanted to play it on PC to see the awesome graphics. And the game looks incredible on my PC. I have a 4080. I guess they patched the performance issues because people said they had a lot of PC issues in the past, but I haven't had that issue. It's been very smooth. The game itself is still not the best. The gameplay still has janky combat. I'm not a fan of the melee focus in this game. I would have preferred it to be more like Dead Space. But it's still a quality game. It's a worth playing. I think if you're into horror games, I think if you like Dead Space, I'd recommend it to people because first of all, it's not too long. It's a nice linear single player game. It's not like 45-hour game or anything like that, and it has quality visuals and the storylines. I don't know. I would say it's great, but it's fine. Like it's just cool. The visuals are cool enough. I think the horror is cool enough. I do think this game has way too many jump scares and but also like climbing through vents because those vents are disguised or loading screens that are disguised. So this game has a shitload of loading screens, but they think they're slick by hiding it through vents. And this game has way too many climbing through vents. Like I'm telling you, half this game feels like you're climbing through vents. If you play it, you'll know what I'm talking about.
Big fan of Spider-Man, I guess.
Yes, but at least Spider-Man goes faster. This he goes very slow. But it's a good game. It's a 7. Like I said on the other podcast we had, I said it's a 7 out of 10. I still feel that way. I feel like I'm a little higher on this game this time than the last time.
Maybe like a 7.5.
Yeah, like a 7.5. I think it's worth playing because I think all the performance issues are cleaned up now. It's because it's years later. It's whatever it's been.
It's on Game Pass now too, so there's really no. I guess there's really no excuse. I just added it to my. Since you recommended, I added it to my play later list.
Yeah, if you like Dead Space, so I think you would like it. You like horror games. It's not.
I love Dead Space.
It's not gonna blow you away. But I think, but it's up your alley. It's like cinematic. It's pretty short. It's linear. It's worth just one playthrough, even if it's not the best game.
I know. Mitch is out there somewhere. His ears are burning and he's smiling.
Yeah.
Well, wondering why.
But this time I am playing on the higher difficulty, and also I plan on playing the DLC because I didn't get to do that yet when it first came out.
Oof. So them hiding the true ending behind DLC is a big yikes.
Yes, but fortunately for me, I got it for like I want to say $8 on Steam with the DLC, so it wasn't too. So I'm not complaining. I don't feel that because I got it like I waited and got the package that's like. Dirt cheap. So, but yeah, that was scummy, and then lastly, I've been playing Hi-Fi Rush on my Steam Deck, like I mentioned earlier. AirPlay is really great on Steam Deck. It looks really nice. It's not as clean as like when you're playing on PC. The cell shading is a little off. It looks more like a handheld when you're playing on a handheld, but it still looks really good. I'd recommend it. It's an awesome like. Put up like plug and play game. Like you just put on the Steam Deck, jump right in, have a blast with it. Plays really well. It would be awesome on the Switch if it was on Switch, but Switch couldn't handle it. It is an awesome handheld game. I plan on beating that by the end of the year. I beat it, like I said, when it first came out. So I've been having fun replaying games I've beaten before on the Steam, like replaying them. I got them for a lot cheaper than when I bought them originally, which goes to show you I probably should just wait. But PC gaming is cheaper anyway. But either way, I've been having a good time with these games on my Steam Deck. But other than that, I really haven't been playing a lot of games because I've been so busy. But now that like I'm getting comfortable in my back to work and I know how to like pace myself better. I'll be playing more games, starting with Black Myth Wukong, which comes out, I believe, Tuesday. I want to say the 20th.
Yeah.
And I'm off on Tuesday for some random holiday that we can't figure out. So I get a day to play Black Myth Wukong. So, yeah. My goal is to play some single player games, like single player, smaller games. Right now, I'm in the mood for that.
I'll definitely be playing Black Myth on my PS5 when it comes out. I don't think I'll play it on my PC. I'm too worried about the performance issues just from what I've seen on YouTube stuff with people specifically. I mean, no one has a console version, so I don't know. That stuff's going to come in kind of hot, as one reviewer said. So yeah, but I am excited to play Black Myth Wukong. I do think I'm going to give it a shot. It's more of an action RPG. It's not a Souls-like. That doesn't mean it's not tough. It is supposed to be pretty challenging. So maybe I'll still not be very happy. I don't know. But I've heard that it is challenging but fair, and that's what I always like to hear. I would just definitely wait to see how the console version is, because once you buy it on PS5, you can't refund it. They're
refund policy is horrendous.
That's right. That's why we were talking about buying. I thought we were talking about buying on Steam for price reasons, but yeah, the refund policy. That's right.
I would maybe you can buy it on Steam on your PC, try it out for an hour, and then refund it.
Yeah.
And then go from there because the PS5.
You know, I've literally seen this guy play Resident Evil games for like under an hour or something like that, and then do like 100% or whatever, and then still get a refund. So.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But
there's a benchmark tool. I need to use that. Okay.
Yeah, there's a benchmark. You can just download it right now and try it out on your laptop.
I'm gonna do that.
So the PS5 version is very mysterious, and no one has a copy of it, and nobody knows how it runs. So
I have my copy of the PS5 right over there, Seb. No, I'm kidding. I'm joking.
All right, so that's what we've been playing. It will be more eventful next week when we talk about Black Myth Wukong, which will be our main topic of the night of next week. So let's talk about our best and worst video game movies. So, in honor of Borderlands being complete garbage, we're going to talk about our favorite and not so favorite video game movies, which is a very mostly terrible topic, mostly terrible subject, because most of these movies are horrendous. Because they were made by studios that no one really, because they made by studios to make a quick cash grab, and they don't really put much effort nor heart into it, and it shows in these movies. They just feel like random action movies with like some random star and throw them in there and random set piece, and then they call it a day. So before we start, Borderlands came out, and it was like a 0% on Rotten Tomatoes. I believe now it's 10% on Rotten Tomatoes, and
that's correct, 10%.
And it only grossed $18.9 million on a budget of 110 to 120 million. So this is a huge box office bomb. Like nobody went to see this movie. And I like Borderlands. I'm not a giant Borderlands fan. I really like the first game and the second game. I think the third game is kind of fun, but I thought the villains were cringy and the storyline was terrible and the comedy was too try-hard millennial. And I think a lot of people felt that way. And I really, really don't like Randy Pitchford. And I don't have nothing against Gearbox, but I'm not a Randy Pitchford fan. So anything involving him, I'm like, eh. But the big problem with this movie, I thought, I haven't seen it yet, but like from what I've always gathered, was the cast it's so miscasted, like horrendously miscasted. I love Cate Blanchett, but she is not meant to be Lilith. Lilith is a younger character that's more like there's more action, and Cate Blanchett is not an action actor. She's one of the best actors in the world, but she is not meant to be an action star. And she's older too, so and then throwing in like Kevin Hart to be Roland, just a horrible choice. I love Jack Black, but he's not a good choice for Claptrap. He does not sound like Claptrap to me. And from what I gather, all his jokes are cringy and doesn't work and not funny at all. And I heard all the action in this movie sucks, and everybody's bored and everybody hates it. Nobody watched it, so it's a disaster. I'm sure I know Dory's not the biggest fan of Borderlands either, and Randy Pitchford. So I think both of us, I'll speak for Dory, that we both enjoy Randy getting slapped in the face.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. So in honor of that, let's talk about some horrible movies first, video game movie wise. So I know Dory's never seen these movies, but the U-Bowl movies, like Alone in the Dark, probably the worst video game movie ever made. With Christian Slater. Have you ever seen that, Dory? Any of those movies?
I have never seen it. In fact, a lot of video game movies I haven't seen. I've never really gone out of my way to see U-Bowl any of his stuff. You know what's funny about him, by the way, going back to the Borderlands movie for a second.
Sure.
He tweeted or said something in an interview like, "Bet you wish I had directed this now." And everyone's like, "No, that wouldn't have made anything better, dude." Like,
yeah, I mean, Borderlands is hot doo-doo butter, but at least it's not an old bull movie. Like his movies are beyond terrible. Like they're like low budget terrible. Like this just has a Hollywood budget. You still couldn't pay me to watch it. I may check it if it's on Netflix. If like they need a movie to watch on a Saturday or something. But yeah, the Ubo movies are obviously a lot worse than this Borderlands movie. The Alone in the Dark is probably the worst one of them all. Blood Rain.
I've heard about Blood Rain. I've never seen it, but I've seen some of the gifs and some clips and stuff, and it looks god awful. I have no interest in seeing it.
Yeah, and it's terrible, and the IP is pretty much dead. It's a very 2000s IP. And then when I think of bad video game movies, I tend to think of ones in the 90s. I think of Street Fighter, even though the guy who played Bison was dying from cancer, and he acted his ass off and put all of his
he was awesome. Raul Julia.
Yeah.
He also I believe he was also Gomez.
Yeah.
And some of the
he was. Yeah.
Yeah. He was incredible in that. I have a soft spot for Street Fighter just because of his performance.
Yeah.
But everything else about that is hot garbage. I mean, it's badly acted. The plot is incoherent. It's mindless fun, I guess. Yeah. But there's better mindless fun out there.
Yes, and now, and also I was thinking, this is not 90s, but I was thinking to the House of the Dead movie, because House of the Dead, one of the best arcade shooters. I always loved the House of the Dead. Another Ubal movie where he actually put in clips of the game in the middle of the movie when they're fighting the zombies. It's so bad.
What?
Yes.
That's crazy. As you can tell from my reaction, this is another movie I've never seen. A lot of video game movies I've never seen.
Yeah.
Growing up with them. Also, if you notice, a lot of these movies we're going to talk about, they're PG-13 or rated R, so I just wasn't allowed to see them when I was younger, even though I was, pretty interested in video games. But so I just didn't grow up with them. And then as I got older and became an adult, I mean, I heard about how bad video game adaptations were, and I was like, okay, I'm not going to go back and watch them. Like, I have better ways to spend my time. So, I just missed out on a lot, and I'm okay with that because a lot of these movies suck.
Yeah, so continue the trend of horrible, horrible, horrible movies. There was, let's see, the Max Payne movie with Mark Wahlberg. That was horrendous. God. It was so boring. I remember the visuals being okay, like some cool visuals, but I only saw it once, so maybe I'm just misremembering. Let's see, the Resident Evil sequels. I hate the Resident Evil sequels with a passion. I like the first Resident Evil movie, and I love this, and I like the second one. I have a soft spot for the second one because I think the second one has some really cool action pieces, like the sets within the city. It really captured the spirit of Resident Evil 2 and 3, mostly 3. But after that, a hot doo-doo butter, garbage. Especially, I would say the third movie, Extinction, has some awesome cinematography. Like it looked like a higher budget, like it had a higher quality, like camera work and everything. But I just did not like the Mad Max setting, like how somehow a T-virus made the whole world go dry and become a desert. That made no sense to me, and it got really silly. But it really ripped off Day of the Dead, with the zombie entering the phone and stuff. Trying to get the zombie to talk, if I remember correctly. But but those are not as bad as the other movies I just mentioned. And what else? Let's see, worst. Oh, the Super Mario Brothers movie from the 90s. Dory, have you ever seen that movie? The Super Mario Brothers.
Haven't. Sometimes have been.
That's crazy. Like, you're a 90s kid.
I know.
I know.
That one's crazy. Like I said, I did not grow up with video game movies in my life. I grew up with video games in my life. And even when I knew about these movies in retrospect, I just didn't go out of my way to watch them because I knew about the reputation. I have heard some minor critical reappraisal of this movie. People saying it's not as bad as people said it was, and it has some understandable reasons for being as conflicting in tones as it is. But yeah, I don't know. I just never really.
You need to watch. That's a movie you definitely need to watch. It's so bad it's good in a way that it's so over the top goofy. Like it's like Back to the Future, but like it has like live action. It's like it's like fish out of water. Like, first of all, Bob was it Hoskins, or I think it's his name.
Hoskins, yeah, he was incredible.
Yeah, he's great. He was in Who Framed Roger Rabbit, but he's not even Italian. He's British. And then John Leguizamo, he's like Puerto Rican or whatever. There's no Italians playing Mario and Luigi, of course. And then Yoshi's a literal raptor. Koopa was just a guy. Bowser was just a guy. They called him King Koopa, I think it was.
God, that makeup on him or whatever it was.
Yeah, that's what's his name? Very famous actor. Shit, I'm forgetting his name. You look it up really quick. What's the villain's name? And what's the actor's name? He's a famous actor.
Oh, I totally can't remember his name, but I know.
Yeah,
Dennis Hopper.
Dennis Hopper. That's it. Yeah. So
I can't believe I remembered his name, and it's so funny.
Yeah.
His name's Hopper, like Jumper, like Jumpman. Anyway, I'm done.
Yeah, it has like a very like cyberpunk aesthetic to it. It's a very strange movie.
Originally, I guess it was going to be a darker movie, and it was going to be more for adults. But the studio pushed back, and then they had to kind of go back on a lot of what they were going to do. There's like been leaks of like the original script, and it's a lot more adult.
Yeah, I could see that. Like, naturally, the 80s and 90s had like a darker tone anyway, even in kids' movies. Like the Ninja Turtles movie, the first one,
right?
It's very dark. So those are like the worst of the worst. Although I kind of have a soft spot for the Mario movie because I watched it a lot. It's kind of funny seeing the big giant Goombas be like these big dinosaur-looking people. Like they're like 7 feet tall with small little heads. It's just a funny movie. It's worth watching at least once. There's a second Street Fighter movie that was horrendous. There's a Dead or Alive movie which is also horrendous. That's just an excuse to watch hot women fight. So that's what the movie was made for. And then there was the Doom movie with The Rock. Ever watched the Doom movie with The Rock?
Knew about it, but never watched it.
Now that movie has a kick-ass first-person shooter scene. Like legitimately, like the guns. It shows the gun in front of the camera, like a first-person shooter.
Right.
That scene was worth. That scene. I mean, you can just watch it on YouTube and just skip the rest of the movie because the rest of the movie is horrendous. But that first-person shooter scene was really cool. I'll give it that. And I think Carl Urban was in it against The Rock. I think a new movie can really kick ass if done right, and that wasn't it. But I know this one was more like based on Doom 3, and Doom 3 was more of a horror game than the future games. They're more action based. So yeah. So let's talk about. I want to talk about like medium kind of bad movies. Like they're not like the worst movies ever, but they're like kind of bad or bad, but not as bad as the ones I mentioned earlier. Uncharted. The Uncharted, if you like Uncharted, I think you'll like this movie, but I personally thought like it was severely miscasted. I just don't like Tom Holland as Nathan Drake and Mark Wahlberg as Sully. It threw me off just so much. I think Mark Wahlberg is not a good Sully. I just view Bruce Campbell as Sully so much. Like that would be perfect casting. Dora, I don't think you've seen Uncharted, right?
I have not, and I have no plans to.
The best scene in the movie is literally just seeing Nolan North on the beach. Like that's the best scene in the movie. I'm spoiling it, but that's really that. Just look up that clip on YouTube. That's all you need to see in that movie. I kind of like the FNAF movie. I didn't hate it, but I think the FNAF movie, like if you're a fan of it, I think like the kid, like my students last year all loved it. I don't think I was the targeted audience for it. Being an adult with a brain, and I was like. It got really stupid, but I think FNAF fans, especially kids, are really into it. So it doesn't surprise me they're making a sequel. I think so. It's not for me. Prince of Persia: The Sands of Time. Jake Gyllenhaal was very miscasted. He's a white guy playing a Persian guy. Just horrendous whitewashing there. And it wasn't really that good of a movie. And then the Assassin's Creed movie was very boring as well. And Monster Hunter, same director and casting from Resident Evil. Not the worst movie ever, but definitely not something I would recommend. Almost done. And Final Fantasy: The Spirits Within. Remember that movie?
No, but when I was looking up worst movies or best and worst video game movies, that was one that came up for the worst ones.
Yes, Final Fantasy Spirits Within is ridiculously boring. It's so slow. It has nothing to do with Final Fantasy. It's literally just like it's a science fiction movie with 3D animation. I remember when it first came out, they hyped up how great the animation is. Like, oh my god, see the computer animations look so incredible, and if you watch it now, it's boring. It looks terrible. Don't watch it. It's terrible. And then yeah, that's pretty much the main things. And the Mortal Kombat Armageddon, I'll put it. I think it's horrendous, and it's one of the worst movies ever. But I think it's so bad, and it has so many great comedy moments. I think it's worth watching at least once. My friends and I love watching that movie. You can roast the hell out of that movie. It's really goofy, but I would recommend it to people. All right, so that's my worst list. Like I said, a lot of movies because I watch a lot of movies. Video game movies. So Dory.
All right, my list is gonna piss Seb off. At least one of them is gonna piss him off. I know.
Yeah.
So I'll start off with the one that's gonna make him mad. I didn't like Silent Hill. I feel bad even rating this movie, just not because that's how bad it is, but just because I didn't finish it, and I don't like rating things that I don't finish because I don't feel like it's fair. But I literally wanted to make a top 3 worst, and I struggled without this movie here. I kind of struggled. Kim and I watched Silent Hill a couple of years ago, I want to say. She had watched it many times, and we just were both having trouble getting into it. Could have been the day, but I don't really remember it. My memory is how foggy that town is supposed to be. I just think it was really boring. There was way too much stuff about the police officer. I fast forwarded to the Pyramid Head prosthetic or costume or whatever. I thought that was really fucking cool. But then everything else, I just couldn't care less about. It's worth mentioning, I'm not a big Silent Hill fan, not because I don't like survival horror or because I don't like Silent Hill, just because I didn't grow up with it. So this movie's just not for me. It doesn't have a very good critic score, although the audience score is almost double it at 63% on Rotten Tomatoes. So clearly it has its fans, and that's cool. Just wasn't for me. I thought it was boring as shit, to be blunt. And then the other 2 movies I'll mention are Double Dragon. I watched this in the MinMax server. Horrible movie. It's not even good in a so bad it's good way. It's just bad. There's a shot of a woman that when she's in the vents, and it's just blatantly checking out her ass for the whole 15-20 seconds. I'm also pretty sure she was barely 18, or at least she's very young. I don't remember exactly how old she was. I'm pretty sure she was 18 or over, but I don't quote me on that. Just a bad movie. I couldn't tell you a goddamn thing about it. The martial arts weren't impressive or interesting either, and that's really all you want out of a movie like this. It sucked. And then Street Fighter, and we already talked a little bit about it. Look, I fucking love Raul Julia. Think he's awesome, but he can't save this god-awful movie from everything. Just the plot's incoherent. I, again, couldn't tell you a goddamn thing about it. Claude Van Damme's in it, and that's cool, I guess, but he's kind of feels wasted. Most of the fights aren't cool. The prosthetics are really bad. The acting's terrible. The direction's just everything in this movie is really bad. Besides Raul Julia, again, R.I.P., but everything else in this is not good.
All right, so I don't agree with the Silent Hill, but we'll talk about that now. So let's talk about the best video game movies. So I think both of us would agree that one of the best video game movie to this point is probably Detective Pikachu.
Correct. I believe actually it is the best, but I digress.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I say it's the best. I feel like it is the best because it captured the spirit of Pokemon so well. Because it feels like a real world Pokemon. It doesn't it doesn't do an adaptation my own version of Pokemon. It really just feels like you got transported to the Pokemon world. And it has all the Pokemon perfectly animated, exact this is how they're supposed to look, right? They did a great job of how all of them look, and it feels. I've never seen a video game adaptation until Mario really capture the game perfectly well. It's exactly Pokemon. Don't get me wrong. The storyline is kind of nonsensical, predictable Mewtwo storyline. But it didn't matter because just looking at all the Pokemon for 90 minutes was worth the price of admission. That's all I wanted to see. I got to see Charizard in live action, and that's all I wanted to see. I was so happy. I'm a giant Pokemon fan, of course, and I loved Ryan Reynolds as Pikachu. That was a great choice, and he was a lot of fun. And the cast all had a lot of fun with it, and they made Ditto scary as shit as well.
And Mr. Mime.
Mr. Mime was very scary. They gave him I love his texture. They gave him dot, he had a kickball texture, and they did a great job with the CGI with his arms, and he made him scary as hell. And Pikachu almost burned him alive. That was a funny scene.
That movie's fucking wild. I really enjoyed that movie. I know, I'll probably talk about my best in a second.
Yeah.
Once you're done, but yeah, that movie was wild. I really enjoyed it. It didn't blow me away, but I thought the Pokemon just looked so good. But yeah, anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, it was a very entertaining movie. That's all it needed to be. I hope they make future Pokemon movies. I would watch every single one. Another movie would be Sonic the Hedgehog. I think it's one of the best video game movies. Even the sequel as well. I really liked Knuckles and Tails, seeing Knuckles and Tails, and I'm excited to see Shadow, played by Keanu Reeves. That's a great choice. Yeah, I think it did a great job capturing Sonic. I'm so glad they redesigned the original design, because that original design was scary as hell and horrendous. It felt like a true Sonic movie. It wasn't anything great. You can obviously nitpick, and movie's not incredible. It's not Citizen Kane, but it's a fun movie of Sonic doing things. And I thought Jim Carrey as Dr. Eggman was a lot of fun. Obviously he's not super game accurate. I think Dr. Eggman's not that goofy, but it didn't matter. But it didn't really matter. Jim Carrey's just so entertaining. Yeah, I think the Sonic movies were one of the best video game movies as well. I think it would be in the top 3. Dory has it in her list as well. So how do you feel about the Sonic movie?
Yeah, it blew my expectations away. And that's to say my expectations were really low.
Yeah.
Another one I think we watched in the Min-Max channel years ago. I think it's just a okay to good movie, but comparatively to what I expected out of it, it was very good. The voice acting was solid. The writing was good. I have my issues with Jim Carrey, but I think that this was a good performance from him. I thought he was very good as Dr. Eggman. I thought this was just a fun movie. It's just a fun ride for about 90 minutes. I didn't feel like my time was wasted, so that's always nice.
Yeah.
It was a fun ride. I can't really ask more for that from a Sonic movie than that. I'm very excited for Keanu Reeves' Shadow. I'm unironically getting more into Shadow as I get older. Just in a kind of an ironic way, just because I love his edginess. I love how moody he is. I just think he's an awesome character, even though obviously he's very lame. But I think that is what for me, that's what kind of makes him so cool in such a way, is he is so lame, but he owns that. I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, I don't want to get all meta about it, but I'm excited. I think it's great casting.
He's a MySpace king.
Yeah. Absolutely.
When they remaster Shadow the Hedgehog, Dory will be there day one, so she can play a Shadow.
Bro was listening to A Day to Remember before everybody else. I know that for a fact.
So she can play Shadow with machine guns.
That's right.
So the Sonic movies are good. I recommend them, and also on Dory's list would be Mortal Kombat 95, which is also on my list. Mortal Kombat 95. Obviously, not the greatest movie ever. As well, it's not the reviews are not good, but it doesn't matter because we all grew up with it, and it's a really fun movie. I think the casting is really good. I love the Johnny Cage as actor, especially. I love the fight scenes in that movie. There's some of them that are really terrible. Like the Sub-Zero fight is horrendous. He beats him with a bucket of water. Sub-Zero's my favorite character in Mortal Kombat, and that's how he loses. But the reptile, I love the reptile fight. He just comes out of nowhere, and they even put in reptile, and then techno music plays, and it's badass. I just love that scene, and I think that was inserted later on because they needed more fight scenes in the movie. They said it was boring. The audience said it was boring at initial viewing, so they added more fight scenes. And the reptile fight was awesome, right? And I like the scorpion fight too, when in the woods. He's like, "Get over here!"
Who's the guy with the multiple arms? Was that Goro?
Yeah, Goro, and they kick him in the nuts.
That's right.
He's a big puppet.
Yeah. This is a really fun movie. I I just had a good time with this one. I was laughing. I was enjoying some of the fight scenes. Some of the attempts at trying to be realistic didn't really work, like with Goro, I think.
Yeah.
But I mean, at least they took those big swings. You know, for a video game movie, they don't got to try like that, but they did, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, I would have liked to see Raiden actually fight instead of just being the guy that does exposition the whole movie. But
right, for sure.
Yeah, I didn't mean to cut you off. What else?
No, it's okay. I thought this was a fun movie, and I really liked some of the characters. I really liked some of the fight scenes. It didn't blow me away. I wasn't like, oh my god, the martial arts are incredible, or obviously the story and the writing is whatever. But it was good. It was fun. It's similar to Sonic. I just had a fun time, and I didn't honestly expect much more than that. It was good, goofy fun. Obviously, you could watch the sequels and get a little more goofiness than action out of it. So,
yes, when I think of the '90s, like '90s action movies, is one of the first movies I think of because it's a big part of my childhood. Because I used to rent it from Blockbuster a lot, and I used to watch the cartoon and stuff. And my friend and I used to play Mortal Kombat a lot, like Mortal Kombat 3. I was probably way too young to be playing Mortal Kombat, but I was always mature for my age. I think my first Mortal Kombat might have been 3 when it was 3D, and then I went back and played 1 and 2 like on the Game Gear and Super Nintendo. And Sega, I think it was a Sega Genesis too. Anyway, I'm a huge Mortal Kombat fan, and yeah, I really like that movie. I didn't like the reboot they did or whatever it was original like a couple years ago. He literally had plot armor on. That was his special ability. And then Armageddon, and was the other one was Armageddon. That was garbage, but it's worth watching just for the fun. And yeah, I really like that movie. So some of my best movies as well would be Gran Turismo. Recently came out like last year, I think. Different from the rest of the movies we mentioned because it's more of a realistic, based on a true story kind of thing. It's like a biography, and it's a really quality movie. I really recommend it. I think you don't have to be a video game fan to like this movie. If you're into cars and racing and F1, all that kind of stuff, you'll be really into this. I think it's a quality drama. It's not like the greatest movie ever. It's worth watching. I had a great time watching it. And I'm not a car person, and I'm not an F1 person. I already knew the story of the person it's based on because I watched the ESPN special about him, and it's really cool that a gamer became an actual professional driver. So that it is a true story. I think he's still racing as well. So that was a good movie. Werewolves Within. Now this is a obscure VR game, I think, and the movie itself is actually really funny, and it's a fun comedy. It's really worth watching around Halloween. It's a fun werewolf movie. When Dory does her Halloween marathons that she watches with Kim, that's one of the movies I would recommend watching. It's if you haven't seen it, it is a fun comedy like Halloween kind of movie, and it's one of the best video game movies actually because it's based on a VR game with werewolves. So. I didn't even know it was a video game movie, to be honest with you. I totally didn't put that together until I looked it up before this list. And what else? Resident Evil, I mentioned already, 2002. One of my favorite horror movies because I grew up with it, and my friend and I used to watch it a lot. Every time I came over her house, we always watched it. Once again, too young to be watching that. I was like 9, but who cares? And I watched it so much I can quote it. I think it still holds up. It's definitely. I'm not sure if I can say it's a good movie. It's definitely an entertaining movie. I wish the gore was better. Like they shoot zombies with machine guns and there's like no blood in this movie. It's a very PG-13 rated R movie. It's really weird. It's a censored rated R movie. The liquor looks horrendous. The CGI does not look good at all anymore. I don't even think it looked good back then, to be honest with you. I really have a good time with it. And like I said, I enjoy Apocalypse as well because it has the Resident Evil 3 callbacks. And the overall, I love the sound design in that movie. And Mike Epps is hilarious. And I thought the Nemesis costume was cool. Like the fight scene with Nemesis at the end was horrendous. But the Nemesis costume was badass. Like it looked really cool on screen. Yeah. Warcraft. Warcraft. I think it's underrated. It's not. I wouldn't say it's a good movie, but I do think it's underrated. Warcraft had amazing CGI. Like the orcs look absolutely incredible. But the problem with that movie was the human characters had like zero personality and they were boring. And I had no investment in the human storyline. The orcs stole the show. If they just focused on the orcs, it would have been a much better movie. And I think they were trying to set up like a whole universe and try to be like the new Game of Thrones, Lord of the Rings kind of thing. And it didn't appeal to a casual audience, and so a lot of people didn't watch it. And it pretty much bombed at the box office. And I think China saved it. But I think if you're a Warcraft fan, you're really gonna like it. I think it has a lot of cool, just like it's very unique. Warcraft has a very cartoony like aesthetic, and it stands out from other fantasy settings. It doesn't try to be like Lord of the Rings or Game of Thrones. It actually has like a very over the top fantasy aesthetic in terms of like all the armor is very big, broad shoulder. Like the armor, like shoulder pads are gigantic in Warcraft, and there's giant swords, and Warcraft has a really awesome design, and I think the movie captured that very well. I just wish the human characters were more interesting. If they were, I think that we would have had a movie franchise. But Warcraft, and I think in the future we might still have that eventually. Warcraft's a giant IP, and I would if it was up to me, I would put it on a streaming service. I would have Amazon or Netflix or someone take it over and do like a fantasy setting. I think it's better with a show that's like 8 episodes long than a movie. And then not finally, Tomb Raider. I never watched the rebooted one, but I like the one with Angelina Jolie. I'm not sure it's a good movie or not, but I remember it being good. I remember watching it from Blockbuster. I watched it at my friend's house as well. I just love that. I just love like that early 2000s action aesthetic. It's something cool about it with the sound effects, like the music they would use and things like that. And then finally, I kind of like the Tekken movie. I'm not sure if people consider that good or not. I just kind of like that. Like it was just an entertaining movie to me. It just had cool fight scenes for the most part. That's all it really is a fight movie. It's Tekken. Tekken story is nonsensical. Tekken is just about fighting, of course. So yeah, so that's my list. I know I've been talking a lot in this topic, but I've seen pretty much every video game movie ever made, and most of them are trash. But there are some quality ones, and I think some of them are underrated. Overall, I think if you're a fan of some of these games, I think you'll like some of these movies. Like I think the Tekken movie, for example, is like if you're a fan of it, I think you're gonna have some problems with it, but overall, you're probably gonna be entertained. Or Warcraft, or Tomb Raider. But like for the most part, though, if you're a fan, you're probably gonna hate these movies because they change everything and they have no respect for the actual original IP. So, yep, that's our topic on best and worst video game movies, mostly dominated by me. But I wanted to...
Yeah, sorry, I'll go back to my Criterion collection and I'll do better next time. But yeah, I didn't grow up with video game movies, and growing up, when I was finally old enough to watch most of these movies, knew about how bad they were, and I was like, nah, I can spend my time a little more wisely. So,
but it's okay because
one of us had a better life in this specific area. I'm not going to spoil who, but it was one of us.
Yeah, Dory made me sit through Dragon Age for a month. She can sit through. You're talking about shitty movies for 20 minutes. All right, so that's our show. Thanks for watching. So as we mentioned, we're gonna talk about Black Myth Wukong next week. That's our main game. I'm not sure if I'm gonna be playing anything else next week, and we'll see what comes out. I think Gamescom is right around the corner as well, so there'll be a lot of news, I'm sure, from Gamescom, and we'll see you there. So you have a good night, Dory, and take care.
Bye, everybody. I hope everyone has a great day, except for Phil Spencer
and Randy Pitchford. See you later.
And Randy Pitchford.
Bye.
Bye.